Number 36, this is a statistics and probability question. We're working with angle measures. Gia asked 90 students to choose one favorite fruit from 4 options. Peaches were chosen as the favorite of 15 students. So 15 out of 90 students is what's represented in this pie chart. Apples, bananas, and strawberries were each chosen as favorites by an equal number of remaining students. What must be the measure of the central angle of the circle graph for bananas? With this remaining part of this pie, I would say that if it's an equal number, something like that, right? So this would be something like strawberries, bananas, and apples. And they want the angle measure of bananas, which is going to be the same as strawberries and apples. What we can do is find the angle measure of the 15 and then subtract that from 360, whatever that is, and then divide that by 3, and that will be the angle measure for bananas. This is 15 over 90, and we have to multiply that fraction by the number of degrees in the pie, which is 360, is 60. 360 minus 60 is 300. That means that everything here amounts to 300. And we'll divide that by 3, which means that each of these measures 100 degrees. So bananas is 100 degrees. F is the answer. Number 37 is an algebra question. Here we are adding fractions. For all real numbers x such that x does not equal 0, 4/5 plus 7 over x equals. What I would do here is use a number, an easy number, because we're working with variables. 4/5 plus 7 over, I would just say 7. Let x equal 7. 7 over 7 is 1. That's 4/5 plus 1. Or we could rewrite that as 4/5 plus 5/5, which is 9/5. 9/5, or if we want to write this as a decimal, that's 1.8. So then the question is, which of these answer choices gives us a 1.8 or a 9/5 when we plug in x equals 7? This would be 11 over 5 times 7, which is 35. That is not greater than 1. We want a number greater than 1 but less than 2. That's not our answer. 28 over 5 times 7 is 35. That's also a number less than 1. 11 over 5 plus 7, which is 12. That's also less than 1. 7 times 7 plus 20 over 5 plus 7. That's 49 plus 20, 69 over 12. That's much bigger than 2. That wouldn't be the answer. That leaves us with E. E is going to be our answer. Let's just check. 4 times 7 plus 35 over 5 times 7. Well, what I can do here is change the 35 to a 5 times 7, and I can get rid of all of those, and I would have 4 plus 5 over 5 remaining, which is 9 over 5. This is our answer. Number 38 is an integrating essential skills question, and we're looking at proportions. The Harrisburg Recreation Center recently changed its hours to open 1 hour later and closed 3 hours later than it had previously. Residents of Harrisburg aged 16 or older were given a survey, and 560 residents replied. The survey asked each resident his or her student status, high school, college, or non-student, and what he or she thought about the change in hours, approve, disapprove, or no opinion. The results are summarized in the table below. If we look at this table, we see that there are high school students, college, non-student. They either approve, disapprove, or no opinion. What fraction of these non-student residents replied that they disapproved? So non-student residents is here. Which of them said that they disapproved? That would be 353 over the total. The total is 85 plus 353 plus 47. That is 485, so the answer here would be K. Number 39 is also an integrating essential skills question. This is about probability. Suppose a person will be chosen at random from these 560 residents. Which of the following values is closest to the probability that the person chosen will not be a high school student and will not have replied with no opinion? Out of the 560 people who were surveyed, we want the probability that the person chosen will not be a high school student. We want to take into account only the college and non-students, so these numbers here, and will not have replied with no opinion, which means we're working with only these numbers here. We're excluding the ones with no opinion. So then the answer is going to be 14 plus 85 plus 10 plus 353 all over 560, which is 462 over 560, which comes out to 0.825. The answer here is D. Notice that even before I did that, if we just take a look at these numbers, we know that it's going to be out of 560, and we're going to add up these four numbers, and the numbers that we're not going to take into account are pretty small. This number is very important. It's pretty big. That places, even if we were just taking that number, above 50%, which means these would not be our answer. And then if we look at E, 0.98 is way too big. It's almost 100%, so that wouldn't be a reasonable answer. So without even doing the calculations, we can get to the right answer by doing process of elimination. Number 40 is an algebra question. We're dealing with percentages. After constructing the table, it was discovered that the student status of 15 residents who replied that they approved had been incorrectly classified as non-students. After correcting the errors, exactly 60% of the college students had replied that they approved. To the nearest 1%, what percent of the high school students replied that they approved? There are multiple steps. You don't want to get confused. First, we're talking about non-students, and then we're talking about college students, and then the high school students. So let's take each of these in turn. There are 15 residents who replied that they approved that had been incorrectly classified as non-students. So if we look at this chart, that means that there were actually 70 people who were non-students who said that they approved, and 15 should be redistributed to the college and the high school students. Now, we don't know how many. We have to figure that out. Once we've added a certain number to the college students, they comprise 60% of all the college students. That means there were initially 14 that were counted, but we're going to add some number x, and that number in total over the new total, which is 14 plus 10 plus 6 plus x, has to be 60%, or let's just say 3 over 5. That's 14 plus x over 30 plus x equals 3 over 5. We can cross multiply. That will be 5 times 14 plus x equals 3 times 30 plus x. And we get 70 plus 5x equals 90 plus 3x. I'm going to bring the 3x this way and the 70 this way, and I'll get 5x minus 3x, which is 2x, and 90 minus 70, which is 20. Solve for x, and we get x equals 10. That means 10 of these students were actually college students. 5 of them were the high school students. To the nearest 1%, what percent of high school students replied that they approved? So now we add the 5 to the 30 that were originally there. That's going to be 35 over the new total, which is 35 plus 4 plus 11, which is 35 over 50, which we can rewrite as 70 over 100, which is 0.7, which is 70%. So the answer here is H.